That could be a tough part for all of us, of just being, willing to ask a good question and ask for help. Because I think there's so many of those around us when, we can be intimidated, myself included, when I launched Mill Village to go ask another nonprofit for help. And so many people are willing if you take that chance and ask. Yeah. And that can be, a step of courage.
Hi there, everyone. That was Dan Weidenbenner, and today we are going to explore his journey with founding Mill Village Ministries. Dan, I want to welcome you to the show.
Thank you for having me. It's wonderful to be back on campus.
I know. How long has it been since you've been here?
Gosh, well, not that long. Maybe a year. Not even.
Before we dive into the conversation, everyone, I want to remind you that this is the podcast that's brought to you through the partnership between the Hill Institute for Innovation and Entrepreneurship and the Communication Studies Department here at Furman University. And I'm Mary Sturgill, your host. Dan, let's dive right into this conversation. I find it curious. You're a Florida boy who came up to Furman. How in the world did you find out about Furman?
Gosh, well, there was some Floridians that were coming up here at the time, and so I knew I had a connection through as someone that went to my high school, and I had an advisor that knew about Furman, and kind of brought me here. And I never looked back.
I started saying, then you stayed.
And then I stayed, and I brought the whole family with me. So all my Florida family lives in Greenville, South Carolina now. So.
Oh, wow, that's so cool. So what did you do right when you graduated from Furman? You didn't start this right off the bat.
No. I did a leadership program with a local church doing outreach, both locally and kind of regionally. But I also worked at the Kroc Center, which is a Salvation Army community center over in the West Greenville area of downtown. And I helped open it. It was the first year it opened. It's amazing place.
So when did you open the Mill Village Ministries?
So Mill Village started really about a year after I graduated in 2012, really as kind of a side hustle project, doing outreach in the Sullivan Street community.
Yeah, wow. So I want everybody to understand that this is like Mill Village Ministries is like an umbrella over like 4 different things that you have going on, and we're going to dive right in and talk about how you started each of those and how they came along. I don't want to miss anything, so I'm gonna read my notes. Mill Village Farms, Village Engage, Village Lunch, and Village Rent.
That's right.
And I didn't miss anything.
You got them all. It's
all
a mouthful.
It is a mouthful. So let's talk about them. Which one did you start first?
So when we were starting Mill Village, we started with Mill Village Farms, really as a small community garden on the Sullivan Street area on the campus of Long Branch Baptist Church, working with just 4 young men. I lived in that neighborhood, lived right on that street, and got to know a lot of, grandparents, parents, community leaders, pastors, youth. And frankly, one of the biggest needs we saw was what could teenagers do collectively to help really provide solutions. That's what I heard from our students, is they wanted jobs, they wanted to earn some extra money, and they also wanted to give back. They were no stranger to some of the challenges in their community. And so the pastor of the church there was a champion for healthy food. In fact, he was bringing farmers from out of the community to sell produce to neighbors and community members that needed healthy food. And so we thought, well, what if we could do this right here in our own neighborhood, grow some food in a small community garden, and then take that produce and sell it right back into the community. And so that's how Mill Village Farms really got its start.
Wow. So the workers are high school students?
All high school students. 14 to 18-year-olds. So we do have some 8th graders that work. Usually it's their first time ever having a paid employment opportunity, but we teach job skills, life skills, soft skills, financial literacy skills. Now that they have money in their pockets, they want to know, how can I save? What's, learning about credit scores. We teach healthy cooking classes. We do a lot of career exploration things. So they'll go on college tours here at Furman, learn about, what are they going to do beyond high school?
That is amazing. So how do the students get into that program?
So we run kind of a mentoring program on the front end where they can learn some of these skills on, job writing and resume writing and interview skills. And so we do those out in our local community centers and in our office over in West Greenville. And so that's kind of a way we recruit students, and then really word of mouth. A lot of the students recruit their friends, recruit their siblings, recruit their neighbors. And so it's been a really incredible to see this be, in many ways, a youth-run program.
I love this because I think it's so important, one, for people to understand where their food comes from.
Oh,
right?
Yeah, amen.
And then two, to have that experience with growing your own food. We had a garden growing up, but my parents never let us in the garden. My stepmother's thing was, you'll ruin the garden. I'm like, which, if you have to weed a garden, I was pretty happy about that. I didn't have to weed the garden. But I would have liked to have learned how
it's such a great practical skill. I mean, and it's hard work. I mean, it is a labor of love. There's highs, there's lows, and learning about the food system is important for students because, again, it's not necessarily given in today's environment. Yeah.
Do you have a success story now that you've been doing that a while?
Gosh, man, we have so many students. Yeah, hundreds of students that have come through. In fact, we have a young man, Jimmy, who's was one of our first students, and he's just been incredible, been resilient. He's had a lot of challenges to overcome, but has been a champion for our neighborhood. Mm-hmm. He's now working at our local health system, is thriving, is just doing really well. And it's fun to just touch base with him. We had lunch not too long ago and hear about the influence and the impact of working in a garden and serving our community and what it had on him.
And now he's still serving the community, working in the health field.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow, that's amazing. All right, so let's talk about Village Engage.
Yeah,
Tell me about
Village
that.
Engage started is actually one of our more recent enterprises that we launched out of Mill Village, really to try to combat some of the systemic issues. We were doing so much grassroots programming, quite literally in a garden, but also with some of the other things that we're doing. And we saw there were so many challenges that we couldn't just program our way out of. And we were started by the church, and I felt so strongly that the church and the faith community at large could be a solution to this. And we're the solution to this, but needed to be educated about some of the issues we saw in our community and really be mobilized to take action. And so Village Engage is our enterprise to really help educate the broader public around some of the social issues we're seeing, things like environmental pollution that we have rampant in our neighborhoods, affordable housing, which we know is an issue not only in Greenville, but across the country, getting access to transportation. Things like predatory lending was an issue I learned about. Right. Is an incredible challenge in our state, but really across our country, where we have families that get preyed upon by companies charging 300 to 900% interest rate loans on small installment loans. And if
you need money for your electric bill,
and you are in a crisis, these companies are right there, ready and willing to take advantage of you. And it gets folks caught in this cycle of debt that keeps them trapped in poverty. And those skills just get passed down. Right. And so we've been working really hard to educate the broader public about this issue and bring about solutions on the state level. So we've launched a coalition now where we're working to hopefully curb some of these challenges that we're seeing in the neighborhoods.
So who all's in that coalition?
Yeah, so we have folks like Community Works, our South Carolina Community and Economic Development Association, Self-Help Credit Union, which they run a national organization called the Center for Responsible Lending. They've been our fiscal sponsor because they've done this really across the country in helping states, just curb and rein in some of the toxic practices that happen really underneath our noses, but many folks don't know about it if you're not, using these products. Right.
And it just puts people in this hole and keeps them there, basically.
Absolutely,
So what kind of programs are you kind of organizing to raise the awareness about those things?
So we use a national program called Just Faith Ministries or Just Faith programs. We run them in dozens of churches. We also run them in our office. They range on issues of, learning about the criminal justice system, to systemic racism, to poverty, to the food system, to all kinds of issues. And so we run those on civil dialogue, which we know is so important right now. We have a program running now called Want to Talk that really helps just people learn how to listen, especially when you disagree with folks, and how do we have a relationship and a conversation and talk about hard things, because I think in many ways we avoid it because we're in such a polarized world.
I think that's a great vision that you have right there, and that you're carrying it out, because right now we have this kind of us and them mentality that I keep seeing over and over again throughout wherever you are on social media or wherever. And this kind of breaks that down.
Absolutely.
I would think.
Yeah. And having courageous conversations, and being able to truly have a conversation rather than just, it's so easy to shout on social media, and we can all be upset about something in the world right now. There's no shortage of things.
There's no shortage of that. I love too the dialogue part of it, and because you don't know what you don't know, right? Maya Angelou says this, and I quote her all the time. And I quoted her the other day when I was talking to somebody about their teenager, and about she may be acting this way, but she doesn't know what she doesn't know, right? So. And one day she'll figure it out, right? But you're helping people figure it out, because we all live right in this community, and all of these issues are going on in our community. And the more that we know about them, the more that we can then take some action on them.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think it's so easy to, feel like you can't do anything.
Right.
It feels like the problems are almost too large.
Right.
And a big part of our work is to really help educate folks that there are things you can do in your own backyards, quite literally. You can, learn who your elected officials on the city and county and state level, where you can actually have a relationship with these folks.
Yeah.
And you can actually have an impact on things like affordable housing, which we know is a crisis right now.
Yeah.
Cities and counties can do something.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So let's go on to Village Launch, which I love this one too.
Yeah. Village Launch is such a transformational enterprise of what we do. Really got started when the church that helped launch us was really crowdfunding loans before things like Kickstarter and GoFundMe were around.
Yeah.
This church would share a story of an entrepreneur and then literally pass the plate and raise some money for an entrepreneur to have access to capital, because it's so important.
You don't see many churches doing stuff like that, and I love that.
Oh, it's amazing.
Helping entrepreneurs get on their feet and do and make their vision come to fruition.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so it started really doing microloans.
Yeah.
And what it's now evolved and grown into at Village Launch is really this full service business incubator program where we're providing hands-on training to entrepreneurs that are in our community, of which there are many.
Yeah.
Particularly women of color is who we serve. The fastest growing group of entrepreneurs in the country right now. In fact, I think some of the latest research is that over 70% of particularly Black women have a business that they're running.
Yes.
And so it's quite literally the majority of these women are starting businesses and often go unsupported.
Right.
But they're creating amazing products and services and hiring people and even more importantly, creating income and hopefully generational wealth to really, I think, turn the tide. And
correct me if I'm wrong, but they're also the demographic that is funded by loans, etc., least in the least amount of anybody.
Absolutely. Yeah. As far as just even, building awareness of how can you get funding for your small business and going to a bank, it can be really challenging and intimidating for so many of our entrepreneurs to be able to get access to capital and face quite real discrimination on a regular basis. But building awareness, building confidence, building relationships, social capital is such an important thing when you're an entrepreneur.
Absolutely.
It's about who you know and the connections that you have that can really make or break what you're doing. And so all of our entrepreneurs get paired up with a mentor. And that mentor is not only there to be someone to encourage them, provide feedback, but really to open up their Rolodex of contacts because you might need help with the website, and you as a mentor might not know anything about creating a website, but I bet you might know two or three people you could call that could really help your mentee with a website. And so much of our mentors are really helping build that social capital for entrepreneurs to really create long-term success. Where do
the mentors come from?
All over. So we have mentors that are actually past graduates and alum of our program, which that's, always.
Oh, that's so cool.
It warms my heart and gives me goosebumps when I see our entrepreneurs that have seen success through our program and come back and reinvest into our entrepreneurs. But we have folks that are retired business folks, that come and help. We have young folks that, maybe haven't had a business themselves, but they're in the business of supporting other businesses. They might be a small business accountant. They might do digital marketing for small businesses, and they have a lot of skills that they can provide for some of our entrepreneurs out in the community. And so this has grown. We serve about 75 to 100 entrepreneurs a year with in-depth training where they go through an 11-week intensive program, learning all things of, understanding your finances, pitching your business, understanding marketing, all the various things, legal entities of, how do I establish this as a legal entity?
Right.
So they really go all, in depth on all things for their small business.
Several of the graduates have been connecting with the Hill Institute and going through our Greenville Starts program as well. And so what I'm loving to see, and one of the reasons I wanted to have you on, was that synergy that you're helping to create, this entrepreneurial ecosystem that we have going on in the Upstate here in South Carolina. And you're a part of that.
Oh, yeah. Well, thanks. It definitely takes a village, quite literally, in the ecosystem. And the Hill Institute has been an invaluable partner for us and our organization. Brian Davis actually was just on our panel for a pitch competition we had last week. And so we gave away $15,000 to some of our entrepreneurs. And the Hill Institute was a big part of that. And so not only do they get connected to Furman, but they also get more training, access to, some of the students and some of the programs that are happening here on campus and off campus. And so we're excited because it really does take an ecosystem. We know Village Launch can't be all things to our entrepreneurs. They need support from, our local chamber, our SBDC, financial institutions, higher ed. And so it's exciting to see this ecosystem kind of coalesce.
All of those partnerships coming together. It's a great thing to watch and see. Okay, so let's move on to Village Wrench. I'm dying to know what this is.
So Village Wrench is our kind of community bike shop. When we were selling produce out in the community, frankly, we had so many older adults that were right there in our neighborhood that were fixing kids' bikes. And we just started meeting these folks on Saturday mornings when we were out there selling produce. And it was a local church that was starting there in the neighborhood that was just fixing kids' bikes for neighbors. And what was a beautiful thing is then they started teaching those kids how to fix their own bikes. They became tire tube specialists, these little 12-year-olds. And they were the ones out there, running this program. And so light bulbs, were going off with all of us of like, how could this be more? We knew that there was a real need, a felt need for a bike shop in the community, but there was this resource and this asset of youth in our community, and could we employ them to create a bike shop? And so that's what we did. We scoured the country looking for other models, and we found one that we've really helped replicated and brought to West Greenville. And so Village Wrench has now grown into this full service bike shop that employs students, provides community bike repair for those that need it, especially our neighbors that might depend on their bike as their main mode of transportation. A bike can be a much more efficient way to get around town when if you don't have a vehicle.
And it's certainly more sustainable.
And fun. And so our bike shop employs students, provides bike repair, and then we take bike donations. This is, I think, a really amazing part. Folks donate their bikes, and our students and our master mechanics refurbish those bikes, and then folks in our community can actually go and earn that bike. So they can go volunteer in the community to earn a bike, and then we sell those bikes too. So if you need a bike, you can come and buy a bike in our bike shop. If you need it tuned up, you can pay us, and all those proceeds help support the bike shop and run our staff.
I wonder what Furman does with all the bikes that students leave on campus. Because I think there's a partnership to be had here. And I don't know who to talk to about it, but we should get on that.
It's probably FUPO, I would believe.
All right, Dan, have you thought of that before? Did I just give you an idea?
I have thought of it. I think I do know where they go, but I'm not 100% sure right now.
I think that's a good idea. All right, so you've seen the impact that these ventures of yours are having on the community. Can you share with us one that just kind of surprises you and gives you goosebumps every time you think about it?
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's so many. It would be hard to pick one. But one that has also gone through the Hill Institute that I just love. I saw her last week. She was on our panel with Brian at our pitch competition. Is LaShawn Edmonds.
I knew you were going to say LaShawn.
LaShawn. She's just so...
She's been on the Classy podcast.
Oh, well, great. Check out her podcast. LaShawn's just a bundle of energy. Lives in the West Greenville community, is a champion for so many things. But has launched this incredible shoe apparel line that got its start in our Village Launch class, where she was able to make connections. She met a podiatrist that helped her figure out how to get a medical patent on the shoe that she has that helps women with inflamed feet. And then she also got connected through another mentor in the class to someone with Clark's Shoes that has become a manufacturing partner for her.
Yeah.
And she's now launched her program. I got to meet one of her partners that's helping her get Medicare and Medicaid reimbursement for the shoe. It's just quite literally taking off. And she's a product of West Greenville and is there to stay.
Yeah.
And is inspiring to all of us, including Furman. She's gone through Greenville Starts program.
Right.
And
she was in my class.
has won just about every pitch competition in town.
She has.
So we're really excited to see where her business goes.
I love the fact that she had a problem, right?
Mm-hmm.
She came up with this idea to fix that problem. And then she sought out places where she could go to get mentorship and help to figure out what steps do I need to take to further fit to make my idea come to fruition. She's now gotten, like you said, a medical patent. She's now learning how to get this approved by Medicare and Medicaid, which is huge because inflammation, if you guys study anything about medicine at all, inflammation is a huge problem that we have in our country that causes a lot of other issues. And so if you can keep that inflammation down or at least deal with it in a way that works for you so that you can keep going about your daily lives, then it makes everyone more productive. Yeah.
It's amazing. I think LaShawn is so willing to offer help, but she's so willing to ask for help, and that can be a tough part for all of us, of just being, willing to ask a good question and ask for help. Because I think there's so many of those around us when, we can be intimidated, myself included, when I launched Mill Village to go ask another nonprofit for help. And so many people are willing if you take that chance and ask. And that can be, a step of courage.
Absolutely.
But LaShawn is, has been willing to work and partner with just about anyone that's willing to help her. And she's willing to do that for others, which is incredible. That's the kind of community I want to live in.
Absolutely. 100%. I wanted to reiterate something that you just said to our audience, though, because you were talking about asking for help. And sometimes I think that is the hardest thing for many people who are entrepreneurs to do. Because we think, we can do this, asking for help, some people view it as a sign of weakness. I think we need to get over that thought, right? And reach out and get connected to our community and find those people to help. I myself have had an issue with this my entire life because I've been so independent, right? And even in my professional life, it's okay to ask for help. I'm still learning that every single day when I'm like, I can do this by myself. No, you can't.
And we think it might be easier to go about it on ourselves, but by no means.
It's not.
And there's so many folks that want to help and want to support you. You just got to be able to look out for resources and reach out.
Absolutely.
Make a connection,
Make that connection.
Just like what you're doing here.
Yeah. So you keep growing. What's in the future for Mill Village?
Well, one of the most exciting endeavors that we've been working on for the last 2 years is really building out an entire campus for this work. It started, in literally community gardens and neighborhoods, fellowship halls and churches, rec centers. And so we've been working really hard to create a campus for all of this work under one roof. So our whole staff, because we have a staff of a little over 20 folks now that can all work together collaboratively in one space where a bike shop can exist. We can have a food distribution center. We can have a training center for our youth and our entrepreneurs all under one roof. And so we just closed on a property last year and we're in the middle of redeveloping really what has become now a $5.5 million redevelopment project in the heart of West Greenville. And so we're excited for that to be wrapped up, I hope, by the end of the year and have a permanent home that all this can exist and really see some of the interactions among some of these, because we have youth that are entrepreneurs, and we have parents of our students that are also getting food share boxes, but are also entrepreneurs and are involved in the community. And so to have some of that cross-pollination happen in one home and be able to tell the whole story in one place, because it's in many ways been pretty fragmented. So to pull it all together is going to be transformational for our organization.
Yeah, I think that's sometimes when you have these, 4 different entities right now under this one umbrella, I could see how being in one place would help you and all of the other directors, right? Because you're over all these 4 directors, right? kind of stay together, stay on the same page, make sure that, and it gives everybody in the community one location to come to.
It becomes a hub in many ways.
The hub. There you go. Yeah.
And
Good
so,
word.
we're really excited about that taking shape here.
Yeah. In your personal entrepreneurial journey, what has been the most rewarding part? I know seeing the stories and seeing the people.
Yeah, well, it is, I think it kind of goes back of, how do we create this vibrant and compassionate and supportive community that's helping each other. I think that's what I think it's all about. I mean, I call this the beloved community that supports each other, lifts each other's up, corrects wrongs when there are wrongs in the community. And so that's what gives me, in a lot of ways, inspiration and excitement, that when Mill Village gets to work with a company or with our local government or even with, a corporation that's down the street in our community, and that we could all lock arms and say, we're here to stay, we're here to invest in our community and make it the best possible place for everybody. Yeah. That's what really is driving me in a lot of ways, to see this, coalition join arms, that's so much bigger than Mill Village, really. Right. We're just one part of the entire ecosystem that's working to create, Greenville to be the best place for everybody. Yeah,
I love that. I know it hasn't been easy. I'm sure there's been some obstacles. Can you talk about a couple of those and how you overcame them, or how they might have changed the course and maybe even led you to something better? Yeah, well, I mean, early on, in so many ways is, you got to build trust in a community, especially a diverse community. And so that takes time, early on, Mill Village and myself had to create trust in a very diverse, community, which is a historic African-American neighborhood outside of downtown, of which those neighborhoods are changing quickly. Right. And so building trust, I think, has been, a big obstacle, but an opportunity, and being able to slow down. Yeah. I think as an entrepreneur, we're all ready to go and get something. We've got to make it happen. We've got to make it happen today. Yeah. But that can also be an obstacle, that mindset of, slowing down, building trust, building relationships, understanding the lay of the land. So I think that has been, an obstacle for us that, we've learned from. Now is, we have a staff that is growing. We're trying to weave all this together, in a more meaningful way. And so that can be a challenge. We've got a lot of highs and lows, with weaving this all together and really raising support now. We have, a large part of what we have to do is raise support to help, ensure that this stuff happens. Because these solutions that we're creating in these communities with our neighbors, these aren't quick fixes. Supporting an entrepreneur, supporting a student, that doesn't happen in a quick 12-step program in a year. This is stuff that has to happen for decades to truly see the fruit of our work. And so, the pressure is kind of on, because this has got to live on, far past me and those are at Mill Village now to see, what our vibrant community becomes and where our entrepreneurs thrive, and as they grow their businesses, and as our youth become community members and leaders, that's what it's all about. And so investing in this for the long haul, because this is not a quick fix. It's not an easy Band-Aid solution. This is trying to get to the systemic issues in our community and seeing them through. I love everything that you just said, but I want to draw our listeners' attention to this, to understand the lay of the land. I think it's so important. No matter whether you're a nonprofit entrepreneur or just a regular business entrepreneur, I think where some people make mistakes is not understanding the lay of the land of the area that they're getting into. Absolutely. I mean, when we talk about it with our entrepreneurs, it's not only knowing your competition, but it's knowing your customer, and really diving deep there and focusing on that. I think, and things change. Your customers change, your environment changes, the opportunities change. So also being open, but taking that time to truly, reflect and build trust and build relationships in whatever environment you're in is so important. Has because I know it has, how has gentrification in West Greenville affected you?
Oh, it is changing. It is
Yeah.
rapidly changing. The demographics in our community. Greenville is, ranks as one of the fastest growing communities.
Right.
That's the hottest place to live for just about anybody, it seems like, except low income folks.
Right, especially entrepreneurs, but except low income folks.
But yeah, exactly. And it becomes quickly unaffordable. And so, and we have, systemic challenges in our communities where, folks maybe never had the opportunity to own their property
Right.
for a variety of reasons. And so they're vulnerable to getting pushed out. Renters, especially, are vulnerable to getting pushed out. And so it's changing. Our community's changing. We've had to really evolve our work to be nimble and serve people across the entire county, because it's not just so concentrated as it was before. And so we have to be able to serve people in the northernmost parts of Greenville County that are rural to the southernmost parts of Greenville County that are rural, because folks are moving there. Yeah. And so we have to be able to have arms and ways to reach folks in those areas. Right. So
you have to be nimble and shifting as well.
So we're able to recruit folks and support folks and have partners in those parts of the county to really make sure we're reaching those that might no longer can call West Greenville home.
Yeah. Dan, how do you find balance? Because you're head of Mill Village with all these 4 entities under that umbrella, but you're also serve on several boards, or have throughout the years, and you have a family. Yeah.
I mean, finding balance, that's a difficult thing, I think, for any entrepreneur, right? And so, being able to find rest is just so important, and
true rest.
True rest.
Yeah.
Taking time off, taking a little vacation, or taking the day off and setting your phone aside and putting on airplane mode, little things like that, taking breaks in the middle of your day, finding those balance and enjoying the little things too. I think, for any entrepreneur, you usually love what you do. And so it really is motivating. So it can be hard to find balance when you truly love what you do, and you call it a calling too, because that really is so much of what this is.
It is. I can tell just in our conversation and in our previous conversations that this is truly a calling for you. It is a passion for you.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine what life would be like without it at this point.
But you're also an explorer.
Yeah.
What have you and your family explore places? What have you discovered recently that we should all go check out?
Gosh, what have we enjoyed recently? Well, our girls are little swimmers, so we're always looking for little swimming holes to go take them. So whether it be a community pool at our local community center or going up to the lake, it's just, a joy right now. But, we love taking them up to the mountains. Yeah. So that would be our favorite spot.
I love that. Which kind of goes along with finding that rest, right? And just taking that mental and physical break from the business.
Yeah, and the day-to-day. And it can be complicated because everything's intertwined, right? Yeah. And so, finding little moments to rest are so key.
So story is so important. We've talked about a few stories that have come out of how do you encourage the people that you work with to tell the story of what you do? Yeah. Because I think there's a lesson to be learned here.
Yeah. I mean, understand again, and knowing your customer, knowing who you're serving is so important in building that relationship. And so many of our staff get to know the folks we serve so much better than I can get to at this point. And so, being able to share their story, and especially in a dignifying way, because I think that can be a real challenge for nonprofits is, it seems like we have to paint the bleakest possible light in our community to raise money so that someone will help us. Right. But our neighbors are our heroes. Our neighbors are the ones that are our champions. They're the ones that are, frankly, the heroes. It's not Mill Village. And so getting to tell someone like LaShawn's story or Jimmy's story or, one of our, youth in the mechanic shop, they're the ones that are creating the change out in this community. Yeah. And the more that we can champion them, the more it benefits them and us. Right. And I think that's so important is, finding the strengths. Because I think, again, in the nonprofit world, unfortunately, we're always looking for, the problems, but our community is filled with so many assets and so many strengths. They often get overlooked.
Yeah.
And that's important.
Yeah.
You go out and find the strengths.
Yeah.
And capitalize on those.
I love that. I love that. So if people want to get in touch with you, if they feel like, can they volunteer?
Gosh, there's so many ways that you can get involved. One is just, you can go log on to our website at millvillage.org and see the many events that are going on that you could help support. It could be shopping at the Village Launch Market and buying something from one of our entrepreneurs and taking your family out on a Saturday morning into West Greenville. It could be mentoring a student or mentoring an entrepreneur, of which the need is huge. It could be helping us set up for an event or packing a produce box out in our warehouse. There's so many ways, big and small, that youth and adults and those that are retired can come and help support us. So I encourage you to check out our website and sign up to volunteer or support us, whether it be supporting a business or buying a bike or coming out to a fundraiser and figuring out how you could financially help make this business work.
Yeah. Tell us about the market. I'm interested in that.
Yeah, so it's coming up every first Saturday. Yeah, who doesn't love to shop? Every first Saturday of the month, we call it our Village Launch Market, fueled by Floor. We set up a street vendor fair with 20 plus vendors of our entrepreneurs that have come through our program, selling all kinds of amazing things, from art to food to books to all kinds of apparel and clothing and amazing stuff. And then we also have a band out there from our community and several food trucks. We usually have some fun activities for the kids. It runs first Saturday of the month at the West Greenville Plaza from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. So every first Saturday of the month, May through December, in the West Greenville Plaza. You can come check out the Village Launch Market.
Excellent. I love that. Dan, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for Furman and the students and you for inspiring so many great stories and telling them.
Thank you so much. We love stories and we love to tell them. So anytime you have anything new, call me. We'll talk about it. All right. That does it for this episode of the Class E podcast. Remember, this is the podcast that's brought to you through a partnership between the Hill Institute for Innovation and Entrepreneurship and the Communication Studies Department here at Furman University. And we love your support, folks. We love the listeners. Share us with your friends. Interact with us on social media. We now have our very own Instagram account, and of course we're on TikTok as well. You'll see some cute videos on there, and then parts of our conversations with our guests that we find so interesting. So we hope that you will help us spread the word about the Class E podcast and all the great stories that we're telling through this medium and all the great people that we're talking to. That does it for us for this episode of the Class E podcast. Until next time, everybody, dream big.